WineLibraryTV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the Internet's most passionate wine program. And let me tell you something right now, I'm freaking pumped because there is a lot of live people looking at me live in San Diego at the W Hotel. Please send your address so I can send you the money for your broken speakers to get.com. So we're very happy. This is going to be a two-part thing. We're going to do one wine episode on white wines, and then we're going to do an episode on red wines. Everybody in the crowd, or actually if you have a white wristband, but anyway, the far majority of the people out there have the wine in front of them, and I'm very excited about it. Matt, not Mott, is here today taping, and he has helped me pick these wines. So Maddie, you know, you help me with my calendar, my emails. Really, you're the most important person outside my family, my life. But now you pick the wines, and you know if they suck, the far majority of the people in here are going to beat your butt. So you just understand what you put yourself into. 4 wines here. We've got one from New Zealand, one from Oregon, one from Italy, and one from Burgundy. I'm excited about trying these wines. And I think, you know, since we did have a 4 to 7 cocktail hour, I think we're ready to taste some goddarn wine. Let's get into the first wine. The Nautilus 2007 Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. This wine rolls in at 12 US bones. That's a good thing because that is Joe Namath's number, and I like that. It's also a good thing because it's probably pushing the envelope of where I like seeing New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc priced at these days. It is a screw top, and more importantly, it is one of the producers that I've been very hot and cold about through the years. I've probably had 4 vintages of this wine that I've liked, probably 3 that I haven't. So I'm excited about seeing where the 07 kind of lays in, where it acts like. Let's all collectively now give this wine a sniffy sniff. All right, let's talk about this wine. First and foremost, grapefruit explodes in my nose. I also get a very heavy level of fresh cut grass. All right, let me give it a little more sniff. I don't know if anybody else is picking this up, but I'm getting a little bit of like a jalapeno pepper component on the back end. So this is a classic blend of like, you know, fresh cut grass. You put it in a pot, you take a, you know, grapefruit, cut it in half, squeeze it on the grass, cut up a little jalapeno, throw it in there, take it, smell it. That's what this wine smells like. Let's give it a whirl. First thing I like, heavy acid on the back end. And if you're going to pair this with food, the acid is going to come through in spades, and we all know wine people are addicted to acid. Now, also, the grapefruit really carries through, and it becomes almost like ruby red grapefruit juice all the way through. I get a little of the grassiness, but it kind of goes away, and it's really an acid and grapefruit play with a little bit of almost like an apple juice, Mott's apple juice. Mott's here anyway. Mott's apple juice kind of thing on the back end, which is kind of weird, interesting, and I like it. It's a little flabby in the mid-palate. If you guys want to taste along with me who still have it, a good amount of you do. Good job. Let's taste this wine. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of acid up front. Then I feel like there's kind of like not much going on, and then you'll finish and see the finish comes through strong. When you've heard me talk about no mid-palate, that's what I'm referring to. There's no transition of different things going on. So let's taste it one more time. Let's see if you guys can pick that up. In the second quarter, we get that kind of like peppery thing going on. Then there's not much going on. And then you get that kind of, and then you end with a little bit of like a sugar play. I got to tell you something. I kind of like this wine. I think it's showing fairly well. I like the acid. I think it's a pretty complete New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It's not hollow or soft or light like so many of them. This has more body. I get a little bit more of a coat on my palate, which I appreciate. I thank you for coating my palate. It's a good thing. I'm also excited about the length. I still taste the wine, so it's got a strong finish. I mean, it's kind of lasting for almost a minute, which is quite impressive for New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. I don't think it has the oomph or the overall charisma of a 91 or 92 point wine, but I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna score this wine 89 plus points. I think it's a very good, solid example of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. And if you're into the high acid and the fruit that a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc brings, you're gonna like this wine. If you're not, you're not. Let's move on. Wine number 2. Wine number 2. Does anybody have wine number 2? No. Hold on, let's start over. If you have wine number 2, raise your hand. Oh, I'm impressed. Like 9 people, about 9 more than I thought. All right? Maddie, let's zoom in on this. Shh. The Four Graces, I just wanted to do that. The Four Graces 2007 Pinot Blanc. 16 bones. Pinot Blanc, a grape varietal that is really, really doing quite a good job in Oregon. Let's give this a rinse first. All right. For the 11 of you that now have this, let's give this a sniffy sniff. Shh. Now the first thing I notice about this wine is that this wine is AC. This wine is aromatically challenged, and that upsets me very much because I truly believe that the bouquet, the sniffy sniff, is a very big part of wine, and this wine is not bringing any kind of thunder in that way. The only thing I smell is a little bit of a plastic play on the nose, almost like a burnt plastic, almost like if you took a G.I. Joe and put it in the microwave for an hour. I'm getting a hint of lemon, but really not much else. So ultimately, the nose is quite concerning and has me feeling quite unexcited about tasting this. Now, many wines have come through on the palate. Let's give it a whirl. Interesting. Actually, very interesting. How many people have this wine? Raise your hand. Wow, a lot. Except people who got the front row seats. See what happened? All right. Here's what I want to know from you guys. This wine has a flavor profile that I don't think I've ever described on Wine Library TV. I'm going to taste it one more time. I want to make sure I'm right about this. This wine tastes exactly like cucumbers. This wine has like an aloe cucumber play, something like a hand creamer you'd buy at Neiman Marcus for $45. That's what it tastes like to me. I get a really interesting cucumber component on the initial attack, which is wild. How many people here, and don't say because you like me or you want to, or you think I know better, how many people truly taste a cucumber-like component on this wine? Raise your hand. Good, nobody. About 11 or 12 people. I think it's very subtle, but it hits me very quickly on the attack. Also, mid-palate, I get a very intriguing and obvious flavor of like golden pear in the mid-palate, which I think really comes through, almost like pear, crushed up pear, like you would feed a baby. How many people taste the pear component on this wine? Bless you, Matt. Mott never sneezes. All right, so a lot more people taste the pear. Let's give it one more shot. I get so much cucumber. Wow. I like this wine. It's fresh. It's lacking a little acidity for me, but it's got good length. It's pretty steely, and I get a lot of minerality. How many of you feel like you just bit a bluestone? Raise your hand. Awesome. I get a little bit of that on the back end as well. So you tie that all together. Here's my problem. Here's my problem.
What's your problem?
My problem is it's a jigsaw. It's in too many different places and it's not coming together. It's like that 17-year-old that you know in 5 years is going to have their crap together, but right now they're a little bit of a mess up. That's what this wine is. It's not there yet, and I'm not so sure if it will ever get there. There's a lot of different distinct things going on, but it's not blending together like a team, and that's why AI will never win a championship. It leaves Denver, they bring in a point guard that can play, and they do better. That's what good wines do. That's what this wine doesn't do, and that's what bothers me about this wine. I'm going to score this wine 87 points and give it a pass because 16 bones is just too much for this wine. Let's move on. Wine number 3. How many people have wine number 3? You guys are doing a good job. Wine number 3. Shh. Awesome. Wine number 3 is from Mastro Berardino. It is a 2007 Fiano di Avellino. This wine rolls in at $18 US, 86 points. Antonio Galani, who writes for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. How many people in this room, and don't lie, how many people in this room have had a Fiano before? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. That was like, so this is what I love about Wine Library TV. This is what I love about all of you guys being here. I'm glad to meet all of you, but most of all, my mission 3 years ago to go and expand palates in the US is being accomplished again tonight. The fact that 95% of you are trying a varietal for the first time in your lives makes me so warm and fuzzy inside, you could not believe. Let's zoom in on the label. Fiano. Who's got Fiano? Raise your hand. All right. Ooh, just gonna give a little rinse. You know, warm and fuzzy. Let's give this wine a sniffy sniff. A quiet sniffy sniff. All right, this wine's also, is anybody else having a tough time catching a nose on this? It's also pretty aromatically challenged, which stinks. But let me give it one more shot. I mean, I'm starting to decode it with my decoder ring over here. I get a little bit of like the helium thing. Sometimes I talk about like a balloon. There's something balloon-like about this nose. I'm not quite sure, but I can feel it a little bit on the back end of the nose. There's also a little bit like of a burnt wood action. I get like a little fire, a little smoke. Kind of like your clothes smells after a campfire. I catch that on the tail end. I also get a peppermint kind of thing going on. Spearminty, pepperminty, kind of like minty, kind of, right? Yeah, it's a spearmint play. All right, let's give it a whirl. How many people out there hate this wine? Raise your hand. Wow. How many people dislike this wine? How many people are meh about this wine? How many people like this wine? Nice. How many people love this wine? Which means 0. They just wanted some camera time. I agree with the masses on this wine. I think this wine stinks. This wine is very thin. This is a very easy way to be popular, Matt. Just go first, then agree. Very thin. The one gentleman who really liked it, I kind of understand where he's coming from. I do like the acid, and I adore the freshness of this wine. This is a wine that would pair extremely well with shellfish, light fare, lobsters. However, this wine is just boring at some level. I think especially after the last 2 wines. So fun. Especially after the last 2 wines, which I thought brought acid and flavor. This wine just brings acid, which could be fun in some scenarios, but in this scenario, has no interest. It brings little to no flavor. I find it flabby, and I honestly feel that I can replicate this flavor profile in a $6 bottle of Vermentino. So, this wine's a major pass. For all 7 Z's, I'm going to score this wine 77 points, and I hope I never taste it again. Let's move on. Wait, you guys feel bad for it now? Like, all right, little rinse. Get it for our last wine. And I want to make a very interesting point about the last wine. How many of you have the last wine? Raise your hand. All right, we'll wait a little longer. Let me talk about the interesting part. This comes from a classic Burgundian producer, and I want you guys to catch this. This is a wine from Burgundy, the most traditional of places, and it is a screw top wine. Very, very unusual still for Burgundian producers, especially the one that has pedigree like Vincent Jardin to go to screw top. This is the 2006 Vincent Jardin Bourgogne Blanc Cuvée Saint Vincent Chardonnay. This wine rolls in at $19 US. $19 is fun for me because that's Keyshawn Johnson's number. Used to be a very good jet player. I liked it. Watch yourselves. Give me a damn wine. 19 bones, which is, kind of pricey for Chardonnay. Now, Burgundy gets a lot of credit for being less oaky, less over the top, less creamy than its California counterparts. And I bash California quite a bit, but there's a crap load of Californians in here, so I'm going to be a little calm today. That being said, there is something to be said for the terroir of Burgundy. The Bourgogne Blancs have always been a good value to me. This is pushing the envelope a little bit. The dollar is still fairly weak against the euro. 19 bones. How many people have this now? All right. Let's give this wine a sniffy sniff. Now this is going to have by far the biggest difference in nose that we've seen from any of the wines. All right? So this wine clearly has, very good job, a buttered popcorn component on the nose. It's like you went to go see the new X-Men movie and you got distracted by maybe a pretty girl or something and you put too much butter on the popcorn. That's what I'm smelling. There's also clearly a oaky, I wouldn't say, the oak monsters here, but I would say there is a burnt action play involved. Almost like a little bit of a cigar, little burnt cedar kind of play on the nose. I don't smell the salami, but I respect that idea. Let's give this wine a whirl. Before I break this down, how many of you were caught off guard or surprised by that initial explosion of fruit? Raise your hand. Okay? Not, you guys aren't eating, obviously, tough crowd. Sorry. All right, let's give it one more shot. Right off the bat, I taste quite a bit of a melon play, like almost like a cantaloupe action flavor profile right off the busy or the bat. Before I keep going, just curiosity, how many of you hate this wine? Raise your hand.
I raised my hand.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Downtown Rob. All right. How many of you dislike this wine? Okay, got you to busy. All right. How many of you meh about this wine? Meh. How many of you like this wine? And how many of you love this wine? All right. Because it was less noise, they're starting to do a good job. I would say that about 40% liked it, or loved. The meh were probably about another 30%, and the minority disliked it. Let me break down this wine for you. Number one, it is shockingly fresh for Chardonnay. Shockingly fresh. Shockingly fresh for Chardonnay. Shockingly fresh for Chardonnay. Number two, it's shockingly fresh. It's clean. It's got a clear Granny Smith apple component on the mid palate, which I like quite a bit. The melon is appealing. I am yearning for it to have a little more complexity. I think it's lacking complexity, but it doesn't super bother me. Here's what I think. Here's what I really think. I think if this wine was $12 to $13, I would cartwheel off this stage and start hugging everybody. I'd be pumped. 15 to 17, I'd probably still even recommend it. Now that it's pushing 19 retail, it's kind of a meh. If it had any kind of, and it's not even the mid palate, which is what usually lacks. If it had any kind of secondary flavors, once I get the cantaloupe, melon kind of thing, and the apples, it's kind of like, all right, see ya. It's like it's all it had, which was great. And it was like a good thing. It's like somebody baked you a delicious pie, but you still want to eat something else, and it didn't cook you anything else. So that's what I'm at. It's kind of like, it was appealing, I liked it, but it gave me nothing else. It didn't give me the second thing that I was looking for. I do like the fact that it's so clean, so fresh, shockingly fresh. But at the end of the day, this is really an 87, 88 point wine. And I probably wouldn't recommend you drinking it unless you're a Chardonnay hater and you don't realize that Chardonnay can be different than just over-oaked, over-buttered garbage. If you want to learn something about Chardonnay and the flexibility the grape has, this would be a wine for you to go and seek out. All right, so we tasted some wine. None of them really blew me away. They were pretty good overall, except some wines, But, it